Something I've always found hard when I was starting out as a videographer was pricing, and then also creating a system that allows me to stay in business for the long term. So within this video, I wanted to share how I actually go about creating demand, creating sales, but also selling and then creating documentation or decks that actually wins me work at higher fees, but also get into a position where you can get that money coming in, and then you can create a system that in my own personal experience has worked really well for me and will allow you to have a nest egg, will allow you to be in a position where you can survive for some months where you don't have that long-term work. Maybe you're struggling to sell retainers at the moment, or the nature of our business is up and down. So for me, hopefully this video can be an asset for you to allow you to understand how we can showcase what we do in a more efficient way, or a better way, to be able to sell at higher prices. Now, before I go into your expectations regarding the meetings and writing decks, and also my personal financial habits that I get into that hopefully you'll find valuable, do keep in mind this is all my own personal experience and this should not be taken as financial advice. I wanted to talk a little bit about marketing and where our leads come from, because if you don't have good positioning, or you don't have a good volume of marketing and a clear strategy on who, how you position yourself in regards to how you come across, but also the solutions that you're trying to fix for a client, you're going to really struggle with the following steps within this video, because it's all set and it's all started with your marketing, right? We sell visual experiences or visual solutions in the marketing world for our clients to actually get more leads, get more understanding, get more awareness, depending on what the objective is. We'll talk about it a little bit more as we go into this video, but the crux or the plan or the things to think about or the things to be aware of is it does specifically come and what confidence are you going to be portraying when it comes to your marketing. So how often are you posting? What are you posting about? What are you highlighting? Are you highlighting the results that you're creating for clients? Are you talking about the upgrades or the investments that you're potentially making in yourself, either as educational or from a purely gear point of view? Who are you creating that content for as well? This is really important to understand your total addressable market and ensure that what you're targeting and the content you're putting out there and where you're posting it, are you using an SEO or search engine optimized strategy to help build your YouTube channel and your website so that more people can go to that and see the services that you offer and help see and help them consider whether you are the solution that they're looking for, because people will pay more if you fix a solution for them. And something which I did about 6 months to 12 months ago was I wrote a post-it note on my work monitor and where I'm going to see it every day, and it's about selling a vision or a solution to a problem rather than a shiny thing syndrome, right? Because what happens is, in a world where things become harder economically, we're in a position where we're more likely to cut the things that we just see as costs, right? When if I'm a solution, or I'm positioned as that client's solution to their marketing problem, so how they get a lot of their work, how they get a lot of their awareness around what they do, then I'm going to continue to get their work. I'm going to continue to work with them, but also this should be reflected in the prices that we offer our clients. Does your content specifically create so it helps someone who doesn't know who you are understand who you are and who you help and how you help them? But also, is it helping that like factor? So is someone going to be able to like and actually get to know you as a person and enjoy spending time with you and enjoy coming to you and enjoy working with you, and is it comfortable to do so? But also, number 3, is that building trust, because no one is going to spend any amount of money with you unless they trust that you're going to do a good job and you're going to be able to add value to their business. So you've put out this great marketing, it's done really, really well, you've got some interest from people about, asking and understanding how we can work together, or how potentially you and them can work together. And your first objective is to ask them whether they'd be willing to exchange some information about what they're looking to do and how they're looking to do this. Now, this could be through an email, or this could be over a phone call, old school, on a phone, or more commonly used in Zooms or coffee meetings, for example. Now, the job here is for you to ask as many questions as humanly possible, not to pitch, not to give them an idea of how much your costings are. Something I did when I was starting out was I would be very open and very honest, which isn't a bad thing, about how much you cost. But that's the only benefit there, is you're going to be able to pre-qualify your lead. So you're going to be in a position where you can pre-qualify who you're talking to. And this is a stage when you want to change, or you want to be in a position where you can actually bring the number of meetings you have down, because your time is spent more efficiently doing other things, like creating content, for example, and pushing more marketing that gets you more work and gets the right attention for you. But the goal of a sales meeting, a sales conversation, is to understand specifically, firstly, are you and that client the right fit for each other, right? Is there a personality trait that you don't think is going to be a good idea? Is your approach wrong for that client, perhaps? But also, it's your opportunity to ask them as many questions as humanly possible. The balance in regards to who talks should be they're talking a significant more than you are. And if you've done your marketing job correctly, what you'll find is they already know all the answers around how you work, what you do, and how you do it, because that they should be able to gain from your content, your marketing, because that's the whole point, right? It's meant to warm them up to the point of working with you, so that the only conversation is, how do we specifically work on your nuance or your problem that I'm here to fix for you? I would also recommend that if you are doing this via Zoom or equivalent, that you find a way, or you have an AI note taker, or you record the meeting. Now, of course, let the client know that you're recording it for documentation purposes, so that you can create a better service for them, right? Because the job of you recording this meeting is so that you can write a deck that is specifically talking to their pain points, their issues, their concerns about the problem, and you're going to put forward your solution to that problem that they have. Then after you've had this great call and you're going to be talking to them specifically, you want to add or share the fact that you're going to be sharing a deck with them shortly, ideally within 24 hours of the sales meeting if possible. And the job here is, as I say, to showcase and highlight how you personally would, or your company would, fix the problem for that client. One of the things that I got wrong significantly when I was starting out was pricing, because I didn't have a lot of confidence in my pricing, but also I didn't really understand the three-step pricing model, right? Now, the three-step pricing model, for those who don't know, is the power of pricing contrast. Now, the power of pricing contrast comes from a principle which gives your client, gives you the person reading the proposal, the illusion or the understanding of value contrast between three options, right? And the first thing for me is, let's say, for example, all I'm going to offer you is something for £1,000, right? And for me, that the likely reaction that you're going to get is, oh my god, that's a lot of money, right? And it is. But if I then compare it to a option for a fix to a problem, one is priced at £1,000, the next tier, the next step is priced at, say, £5,000, and then the following step is priced at £10,000, suddenly the £1,000 option is actually the cheapest, and it becomes the question of, is that really good value or really good return on investment? The question when it comes to pricing isn't necessarily how much is it going to cost that client. The question that they have, and the reason what we all do when we make a purchase, whether that's £3, £1,000 or £10,000 or more, is, am I going to get more value from what I'm spending. So if I'm spending £1,000, am I going to receive more value in the midterm, short term or long term from this £1,000 spend? And ideally, in most cases in business, from the people I've spoken to, they're looking for about between a 3 to 4% return, like a 4 times return, excuse me. So the job of you as what you sell is to help communicate that value. So if you're trying to sell a product or service at £1,000, let's say, then your pitch, your objective is to help them help the client understand how you can make them £4,000. The same being true of 5,000, you're going to try and make them 20,000, and so on as we move up the tree in regards to pricing. When it comes to the end of the deck as well, my recommendation would be you make it easy for your client to do the next thing that you want them to do, which in most cases is going to be reach out to you either via email or phone number. So give them the opportunity to say, hey, does this look good? Does this sound good? I would love to hear from you and would love to talk through our next steps of how we can work together. So I've left these bits of information, so feel free to reach out specifically. Now, once I've written my first draft, what I will then do, especially a dyslexic, I will ask ChatGPT to check the entire proposal for spelling and grammar, and then after it's done that, I will then ask it to create some feedback for me from what it believes is going to be to make that profile or that specific deck better, right? And I give it the context and I give it the understanding. And if you have trained the AI to write for you, what you then can ask it to do is use the feedback above to rewrite the proposal in my own words. Now, you might prefer to rewrite it yourself, and if so, you would use that feedback to then reiterate and get to a draft 2 stage of that proposal. And once you've done this a couple of times, what you'll find is you'll have a lot more polished of a proposal that gets to the point a lot quicker. And we can use AI as a tool to help do this, but we can also use community feedback or our close friendship circles or our close friends in regards to our business connections, perhaps, to allow us to get that feedback and keep in mind as well that it is going to be subjective. So there's some bits of feedback that you might just want to reject because you don't want to rephrase it that way or you don't like that piece of feedback, but always do it through the lens of, is this going to be more persuasive or potentially position me as a better option for the client or the work that I want to win? So hopefully, and just a very quick thing on ChatGPT or any form of spell checker as well, you should consider that it's going to naturally use US terminology and US spelling. So double check that you have told it to use the UK spelling, just as it can be a small nuance, but certain people will get irritated by the US spelling of things rather than the UK version specifically. Let's say, for example, you win a project at, say, £5,000. And for this example, I'll just use £5,000 because it makes the maths a lot easier. After confirming the next steps with the client, e.g., you're going to be looking for a pre-production meeting, as I've already explained. You're then going to request, like I would recommend you request, a non-refundable deposit of the 50% of the project cost. So in that respect, it's £2,500 in this case, and you can make this clear by saying it's either a booking fee or a non-refundable deposit. And within that, once you've got your terms of business, and I'd recommend you double up your terms of business, so either ask the client to sign in a document for terms of business, and this is just confirming that both people are on the same page in regards to how you operate and how you work. And then I'm going to want to make sure that it's very clear that the deposit itself is non-refundable. And the reason why we do this isn't to, quote, steal money or be in a position where we are going to potentially steal money, because you've got hard costs, right? So let's say, for example, unfortunately the project goes skew with for whatever reason, right? And you've got room rental, you've got crew cost, you've got gear rental cost potentially in that respective as well. It's one of those things where you are going to still need to pay those bills, and what the deposit actually ensures is that you can pay those bills. So what I personally do when I get a deposit in for a job. I know what the costs are on that job because of how I quoted it. And what I do is I pull all of the costs from that deposit into a separate bank account that sits there, and it's money that I don't spend because I know those costs are going to be there regardless of whether I have the invoices or not yet. The actual money needs to be paid to those individuals regardless. So this is a way of safety measuring how you can cover the costs, but also ideally you want the quote to be large enough so that you can still have a chunk left over, so that you can then take 20% of whatever the invoice was. So in this case, £2,500 total, and the 20% is going to be £500. And from there, you're then going to move that into a separate savings account, which I personally use as a savings buffer, a level of emergency fund, but also as a tax kind of pot, right? So in the event, because we're either limited companies or solo entrepreneurs as sole traders, we get paid through our clients, but of course the government, unfortunately or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, want their cut, and their cut on average, depending on how much you make, will be around 20%, hence why we take 20% out of an invoice. And what I've also started doing this year as well is taking a further 10% out of every invoice that I get paid and putting it into a cash ISA. Now personally for me, I use Trading 212. Other brokerages are available, of course, and what they offer to me at the time of writing and the time of recording this video at least is a 4.9% return on any money in that account, and they will hold that money, from my understanding at least, in banks, which means I do get that FCA protection in the event of them going broke, and it's also ring-fenced legal agreement. As far as I'm concerned, it's a very safe reality for my money to sit there. But what can happen is I will be paid out daily. It's not much, it's 5p, 10p, it depends on how much you've got in there, but the objective for me personally, and the objective for you, should be to creating a level of nest egg and creating a level of habits that give you a like onion layers, you could say, of banks and money, that in the event where you have a slowdown with work, in the event where things aren't going crazy, or in the event where you have an unexpected bill, or God forbid a camera breaks, etc. These things happen, or a lens breaks and you need to replace a piece of kit, or you need to pay a bill that you weren't expecting, then you have the money there to be able to do so, and it reduces your risk as a business. And that's why I wanted to share it here in this video, because I imagine this video will be consumed by people who are either starting out in videography or are looking to up what they do in 2025. So I hopefully that you did find that valuable, and hopefully you did find that helpful. But as I said at the beginning, this is just my own personal experience. This shouldn't be taken as financial advice, and I'd recommend you do your own research. Along with everything else I always say, please do your own research. But thank you ever so much for joining me once again. If you did enjoy this video and you would like to hear more about what's going on video content and how we can add more value to our clients, but also what news is going on social media, I create a bi-weekly news show, and it highlights and showcases what specifically is going on in that regard as well. And I'll be sure to talk about in other blogs and other stuff like that, to talk about what's working in marketing right now. So if that's interesting for you, I'd love to have you here, and subscribe on the YouTube channel. Thank you ever so much for coming back and joining me. If you did enjoy this video and would like to leave me some thoughts, let me know in the comment section down below, and I'll see you very, very soon.